Hi, this is Dan Petrock, and this is a video to help give a little bit of a context and overview of our blended learning unit here. This is the math group from the Summer Seminar 2013. Myself, Dan Petrock, Gretchen Eastman, and Lisa Jacobs and I worked on this summer. It was a great experience. It was a tough experience to figure out how to make a good quality set of units that tie together to the Iowa core. But I think we came up with something, a good first draft of a lesson here. So I just want to go through a little bit of it here. So what we decided was to focus on linear equations, graphing lines, solving basic systems, and introducing functions. So this would be good for like 8th grade, maybe even Algebra 1 or a combination. And it's going to be dependent a little bit on the students, the philosophy of the teachers, how far they want to go, and how much they want to introduce functions. So uh, there's there's the basic unit overview here, but one thing we have here is this we called a focus problem on this baseball jersey problem, and this is more of a thematic part that runs through all four items here. The students are going to work in groups to model these first two companies, print it and top print, to determine with graphs and tables to determine how much is a setup charge, how much per shirt, model those, and then by lesson two they start figuring out when does one company better than the other, so how many, the break even point essentially, and quantify all those things. So they're going to also write expressions and then eventually equations and solve that basic system. And so this is the theme by which we're trying to connect all the learning within. So unit 1 and 2 are the basic modeling and solving of this system, getting in the ideas, so they're very concrete to symbolic, and then explaining their thinking in the groups. We're also using the Khan Academy here to do some of the online learning. So for instance, I'm just going to click on graphing lines here. So if they go there, this is where teachers are going to have to get in here and kind of determine how much they want to use this and how far they can go. So it's got videos over graphing lines because that's part of the way they're going to model the situation. And they've got several units here. So they can watch these videos, and then when they get to certain ones like this one, plotting XY relationships, and Khan is very much a functional approach. He uses function notation early. He uses, connects the this expression with an input output thing. So he actually, pushes the idea of function very early. So it's the teacher's going to determine how far they want, how fast they're going to do these, and kind of tell their students which part they're going to get to. The other interesting thing here is they can practice this concept. So if they're going through the videos and has practiced this concept, then this is where students can answer 10 right in a row to level up. But this illustrates the problem with Khan with this. Notice right away it's using function notation. Well, in our unit, it's item 3 is when they're actually going to augment everything they're doing with function notation. So this can cause an issue for the teacher to determine, well, maybe I'll see if they understand, like, what does f of 2 mean, and watch the video and substitute that in and do input output. And what could be interesting here, students might actually make that connection that it's x comma y, f of x is y, input output, and different ways to use function vocabulary and notation even very early in the course. So every teacher's going to have to kind of determine how much, but there's other ones that are very good. So I'll go back to the unit map here. So how far are they going to go? And each section has, here's the Khan Academy, the Y of algebra, equations for beginners. Again, they can go through the videos, and teachers can actually set up a course in Khan Academy here, and they can become the coach. They can actually determine what students have and have not gotten 10 right in a row in these or mastered these ideas, and then create mini lessons to augment what they need to do there. So this is how we're going to kind of blend some of the procedural part. Teachers can also make their own videos, provide their own little mini quizzes if they're not really happy with these, but we thought we'd at least get those in there and let teachers kind of determine how far they want to use these. Eventually, these get too far along that it's going to be beyond the scope of this particular unit, but it gets them, access to the resources, and the teachers can get feedback about how they're doing. Back to the unit plan again. We also have, like in Unit 1 here, we have the baseball problem, but then we have this graphing calculator, explorations. This Desmo is a great web version graphing calculator. You can launch the calculator here, and so teachers could use this to actually graph their expressions and make those connections in class, or have students actually present those or copy paste their graphs from these into their little write-ups of how they're modeling these situations. We also have some other lessons here, like this journey and shelves one. These could be done instead of or on top of. The teachers have to determine, well, they need more practice plotting, making a table and plotting points. So they may want to, scaffold their lessons with some of these other things. So we've tried to put other things in here. We've tried, we laid them out by days, but we're kind of guessing since it's our first thing. So we've got other links here. So we've tried to give a themed approach with this baseball jersey or these t-shirt shop problem. So teachers can use that to connect all the procedural learning. And then we've also got some other lessons that do similar things. And so there's 4 lessons here. Unit 2 is Unit 1 is kind of modeling, graphing, tables, things like that. Getting into using expressions to model with the variables. 2 is actually solving those, solving the system, solving equations, and then they using a lot of Khan here to solve one to a multi-step equations, using Khan to push a lot of that. So 2 is more a lot of procedural. 3 is where we're pushing the concept of function more, using everything they just learned, but using more of the function notation. And what could be interesting is Khan may have already pushed a lot of this, and then re-explaining their solution using functions and that kind of terminology. And then there's more things to do here on Khan. And then 4 is the extension of this problem, which is they create their own t-shirt shop and determine the price structure based on the constraints. Like they want to make sure they're always more expensive than the other, but always less expensive than the other t-shirt shop, and be able to explain that with using functions. So if this is an 8th grade class and they don't want to talk about functions at all, they may end up just doing 1 and 2 and then maybe 4, and not using the function notation, but they could still do the extension of the baseball program. Right here is this value printing, so they're actually going to make up that and be able to figure out. So that's higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy. They're creating, evaluating, a lot of synthesis of everything they've learned. So we've got this themed focus problem, but we're really pushing hard, and you can see all the core, all the learning competencies and everything out here. So we do some algebra, equations, functions, and then extend it into high school functions a little bit. And then as far as evaluating, we're going to use, you can do paper and pencil evaluations. Khan will give them feedback in the procedural parts. Then we had down here a type of another problem situation that's similar to this. And these are all under the idea of when is it worth it. I guess that's the title of this. It's called When Is It Worth It? Those kind of problems, like when's the break-even point? When does it make sense to make a different decision? There's tons of problems like that. And we've done an example down here with a gas price one with a car wash, I think. Yeah, right down here. So that could be used as a formative assessment. So we're not sure what this exactly would look like in the blended part. What parts would you put online? What would you have students do? So that's really going to be dependent a lot on the situation of the school, access. So this is, I'd say, a first draft, which needs to be several iterations down the road before it be fully used, but it's a good start, and I think it hits a lot of really important concepts. So that's my overview of it. Gretchen, Lisa, we worked several hours on this, and so I think we're happy with what we've got. So you're more than free to contact us if you have questions, and go ahead and feel free and change this however you'd like and use it for your purposes.